I woke up because I heard a sound I couldn't place. Not the usual creaks of our old house settling, not the hum of the refrigerator downstairs, but something else. A faint electronic chime, like a notification, repeating every few seconds. The bedroom was dark except for a pale blue glow coming from Richard's side of the bed. I turned my head and saw his tablet lying face up on his nightstand, the screen pulsing with incoming messages. Richard was asleep beside me, his breathing deep and even, the way it always was after he'd had his evening whiskey. 45 years of marriage, and I knew every rhythm of his sleep, every sound he made in the night. The clock on my side read 2:17 a.m. I'd been married to this man for 35 years, shared a home, raised 2 children, built a life, and yet, lying there in the darkness with that strange light flickering across the ceiling, I felt something I'd never felt before. Suspicion. I should have rolled over and gone back to sleep. I should have nudged Richard awake and told him to silence his tablet. But I didn't. Instead, I reached across the gap between our pillows and picked up the device. The screen was bright, almost painfully so in the darkness, and I had to squint to read what was displayed. Email notifications. Dozens of them, all from the same sender, First National Bank. Subject lines that made my heart start to beat faster. Wire transfer confirmation. Withdrawal processed. Account balance alert. My hands weren't shaking yet. That would come later. Right now, I felt oddly calm, detached, as if I were watching myself from somewhere outside my body. I swiped to unlock the tablet, and because Richard had never been good with technology, his passcode was still the same one he'd been using for years. Our wedding anniversary, June 14th, 0614. The email application opened, and I saw the full list of messages. 50, maybe 60 unread notifications, all from the bank, all dated within the last 3 months. I opened the most recent one, dated just 2 hours earlier. Wire transfer completed. Amount, $15,000. Recipient Thomas Brennan. My brother-in-law, Richard's younger brother. I sat up slowly, careful not to disturb Richard, and pulled the tablet closer. The light from the screen made his face look strange, unfamiliar, carved into shadows and hard angles. I scrolled through more emails. Another wire transfer, 3 days ago. $10,000 to Thomas. Before that, $20,000. Before that, $12,000. The numbers swam before my eyes, adding up to an impossible sum. In 3 months, Richard had wired over $150,000 to his brother. Our retirement savings, the money we'd spent decades building, penny by penny, paycheck by paycheck. The nest egg that was supposed to carry us through our golden years, pay for the cruise we'd always talked about, cover unexpected medical expenses, leave something for our children. Richard had been sending it to Thomas, and I hadn't known a thing about it. I opened the banking app next. Richard's password was saved, another small carelessness I'd never paid attention to before. The account screen loaded, and I stared at the balance. Where there should have been close to $400,000, comfortable cushion for 2 retired people in their 60s, there was barely $200,000 left, half of our savings gone. And that wasn't all. I scrolled through the transaction history and saw something that made the calm detachment finally crack. A home equity line of credit, opened 2 months ago. Amount borrowed, $75,000. Status, active. Richard had taken out a loan against our house. Our home, the one we'd bought 30 years ago when the kids were small. The one we'd finally paid off just 5 years ago. We owned this house free and clear. Or at least I'd thought we did. Now we owed the bank $75,000, secured against the roof over our heads. I looked at my husband sleeping beside me, this man I'd loved for more than half my life, and I didn't recognize him. His face in sleep looked peaceful, untroubled. Whatever he was doing, whatever lies he was telling, they weren't keeping him awake at night. That realization hurt worse than the missing money, worse than the mortgage on our home. He could sleep soundly while destroying everything we'd built together. I got out of bed, moving slowly, mechanically. My legs felt weak, but I made them carry me down the hallway to the guest room, the one we kept made up for when the kids visited. I closed the door and sat on the edge of the bed, still holding the tablet, and finally let myself feel what I'd been holding back. Not anger yet. That would come. Right now, All I felt was a crushing weight of betrayal, pressing down on my chest until I could barely breathe. I opened the tablet again and went looking for more answers. In Richard's email, I found a folder labeled simply T and knew immediately what it stood for: Thomas. I opened it and saw months of correspondence between my husband and his brother. The earliest message was dated 6 months ago, and I started reading from the beginning. "Rich, I need your help. Got myself into a situation. Can you wire me $5,000 to tide me over?" Richard's response: "What kind of situation? Are you okay?" "Just some business debts, nothing serious. I've got a deal coming through next month that'll cover everything. Just need a short-term bridge." And Richard had sent the money. Just like that, no questions asked, no discussion with me. $5,000, wired to his brother like it was nothing. But Thomas's next email came 2 weeks later, not a month. "Rich, the deal fell through. I'm in a bind, need another $10,000. I swear I'll pay you back." More money sent. And then more emails, each one more desperate than the last, each one asking for larger amounts. Thomas had a can't-miss investment opportunity that required $20,000. He had temporary cash flow problems that needed $15,000 to solve. He was about to close a major deal but needed $30,000 to grease the wheels. Every time, Richard sent the money. And every time, Thomas promised it was the last time, promised he'd pay it all back, promised the next deal would come through. But the next deal never came. Only more requests for money, more promises, more lies. I read through 6 months of this pattern, watching the amounts get larger, the promises get more elaborate, the desperation in Thomas's words grow more evident. And nowhere, in any of these messages, did Richard tell his brother no. Nowhere did he suggest that maybe Thomas should talk to a financial advisor or a therapist, or that maybe this wasn't sustainable. And nowhere, absolutely nowhere, did Richard mention that he should probably discuss this with his wife before draining their retirement accounts. But I found something else in that folder, something that made my stomach turn. Messages from just 2 weeks ago, where the tone changed completely. Thomas wasn't asking anymore. He was demanding. "Rich, I've got people breathing down my neck. I need $50,000 by Friday or I'm in serious trouble. You're my brother. You have to help me." Richard's response was immediate. "I don't have $50,000 in cash. I'd have to take out a loan." "Then take out a loan. Use the house. You own it, right? Do whatever you have to do." "I'm drowning here, Rich. These aren't the kind of people you can just ignore." My hands were shaking now, so badly I almost dropped the tablet. Thomas was in debt to dangerous people, and Richard was mortgaging our home to bail him out. This wasn't just financial irresponsibility anymore. This was potentially putting us in danger. I kept reading. Richard's next message: "I'll see what I can do. But Thomas, this has to be the last time. We're putting ourselves at risk here." Thomas's reply: I know. I swear once I get out from under this, I'm done. No more gambling, no more stupid investments. I'll get my life together. Just help me this one last time." Gambling. So that's where all our money had gone. Not into business opportunities or investments or temporary cash flow problems. Into casinos, into online poker, into whatever other ways Thomas had found to throw away a fortune that wasn't even his. I sat in that guest room until dawn started to creep through the curtains, reading and rereading those emails, trying to make sense of how my husband could do this. Richard wasn't a stupid man. He'd worked in finance for 40 years before retiring. He understood money, understood risk. How could he not see that Thomas was never going to pay any of this back? How could he be so blind? But I knew the answer. It was the same reason parents make terrible decisions for their children, the same reason people stay in toxic relationships, the same reason we sometimes hurt ourselves to help others. Love. Or something that looked like love but was really guilt and obligation and childhood bonds that were stronger than common sense. Thomas was Richard's baby brother. Richard had looked after him their whole lives, bailed him out of trouble since they were kids. This was just more of the same, except now the stakes were our entire future. When I heard Richard moving around in the bedroom, getting up for his morning routine, I stayed where I was. I couldn't face him yet. Not until I'd decided what I was going to do with this information. I heard him go into the bathroom, heard the shower start running, heard him go downstairs to make his coffee. The sounds of a normal morning, like every other morning for the past 35 years. Except nothing was normal anymore. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from Linda, my younger sister. "Coffee today? Haven't seen you in weeks." Linda and I had always been close, and she had a way of sensing when something was wrong. I texted back, "Yes." 10 o'clock? Usual place? See you there. I got up, splashed cold water on my face in the guest bathroom, and changed into clothes I kept in the closet there. When I went downstairs, Richard was in his chair reading the newspaper, his coffee mug on the side table, everything exactly as it always was. He looked up when I walked in and smiled. "Morning, Maggie. You're up early. Couldn't sleep?" The casual use of his nickname for me, the same affectionate tone he'd used for decades, made something twist painfully in my chest. "I'm meeting Linda for coffee," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "I'll probably be gone most of the morning." "That's nice. Tell her I said hello." He went back to his newspaper, and I stood there for a moment, looking at the top of his head, his reading glasses perched on his nose, his completely relaxed posture. He had no idea I knew. No idea that everything was about to change. I grabbed my purse and keys and left before I could say something I'd regret. The drive to the coffee shop took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of gripping the steering wheel too tight and trying to breathe normally, trying not to let the anger that was finally starting to surface overwhelm me completely. Linda was already there when I arrived, sitting at our usual table by the window. She took one look at my face and stood up, pulling me into a hug before I'd even sat down. "What happened?" "You look terrible." I told her everything. The tablet, the emails, the wire transfers, the home equity loan, Thomas's gambling debts, all of it. The words came pouring out, and I couldn't seem to stop them, months of deception spilling across the coffee shop table between us. Linda listened without interrupting, her expression growing more horrified with each new detail. When I finally ran out of words, she reached across the table and gripped my hands. "Margaret, you have to confront him. Today. Right now." "I know. I just needed to tell someone first. I needed to hear someone else say that this is as crazy as I think it is. It's insane. He mortgaged your house without telling you? He drained your retirement accounts? For a gambling addict who's never going to stop asking for money?" Linda's voice rose, and a few other customers glanced our way. She lowered it again. "You could lose everything. Your home, your savings, your security. And for what? So Thomas can keep feeding his addiction? Richard thinks he's helping his brother. Richard is enabling his brother's self-destruction and dragging you down with him." Linda squeezed my hands tighter. "You've been a good wife, Maggie. You've supported Richard through everything. But this isn't a marriage anymore. This is him making unilateral decisions about your shared future without your input. That's not partnership. That's betrayal." I knew she was right. I'd known it since the moment I saw those bank notifications at 2 in the morning, but hearing Linda say it out loud made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "What do I do?" "You go home. You show him the emails. You tell him it stops now, or you walk." "Linda, we've been married 35 years. I can't just walk away." "You can, if staying means losing everything you've worked for. Maggie, listen to me. I love you, and I've always liked Richard. But what he's doing isn't just stupid. It's financial abuse. He's taking your money, your security, your future, and giving it away without your consent. If a stranger did this to you, you'd call the police. Just because he's your husband doesn't make it okay." The word abuse hit me like a physical blow. I'd never thought of it that way. Richard wasn't a bad person. He was kind, loving, devoted. We'd built a good life together. But Linda was right. What he was doing, keeping me in the dark while he destroyed our financial security, making decisions that affected both of us without my knowledge or consent, that was a form of abuse. A subtle one, maybe, hidden behind good intentions and family loyalty, but abuse nonetheless. "I'll talk to him today," I said finally. "I'll show him what I found and tell him it has to stop. And if he doesn't stop?" I pulled my hands free from Linda's grip and picked up my coffee, needing something to do with them. "Then I'll have to decide what's more important, my marriage or my future. I just hope I don't have to choose." Linda drove back home with me, insisting she wasn't going to let me face this alone. When we pulled into the driveway, Richard's car was still there, which meant he hadn't gone to play golf like he usually did on Thursday mornings. Maybe some part of him knew what was coming. He was still in his chair when we walked in, but he stood up immediately when he saw Linda with me, a confused smile on his face. "Linda, this is a nice surprise. Can I get you some coffee?" "No, thank you, Richard. I'm just here for moral support." Linda's voice was cool, and I saw Richard's smile falter. Moral support for what? I pulled the tablet out of my purse and set it on the coffee table between us. I found your emails to Thomas. I saw the bank statements. I know everything, Richard. I know you've wired him over $150,000. I know you took out a home equity loan for $75,000 more. I know it's all going to pay off his gambling debts. The color drained from Richard's face. He sank back into his chair, his mouth opening and closing without sound. Finally, he managed, "Maggie, I can explain." "Then explain. Explain how you thought it was okay to drain our retirement savings without telling me. Explain how you mortgaged our home behind my back. Explain how you've been lying to me for 6 months." "I wasn't lying. I just didn't want to worry you." "Didn't want to worry me?" My voice cracked, all the anger and hurt I'd been holding back finally breaking free. "Richard, you've destroyed our financial security. You've put our home at risk. What did you think was going to happen when I eventually found out? Did you think I'd just understand? Did you think I'd pat you on the head and say it's okay that you gambled away our entire future? Thomas is my brother. He was in trouble. I couldn't just abandon him." "You're abandoning me!" The words came out as a shout, and I saw Richard flinch. "You're choosing your brother over your wife. You're choosing his addiction over our retirement. You're choosing to enable his self-destruction over protecting the life we built together." "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you value your relationship with Thomas more than you value our marriage, more than you value me." Richard stood up, reaching for me, but I stepped back. Don't touch me right now. Just tell me the truth. All of it. How bad is it really?" He sank back down, his shoulders slumping. "Thomas owes $200,000 to some people in Atlantic City. They gave him a deadline. If he doesn't pay, they're going to hurt him. Or worse. $200,000. Even more than he'd already sent. And you thought you could just keep sending money until the debt was gone?" "Richard, gambling addicts don't stop. They just dig deeper holes. Even if you paid off these debts, Thomas would rack up new ones. This will never end unless he gets help. Real help, not money. I know that. I do. But he's my brother, Maggie. If something happens to him because I didn't help, then that's on him. Not you. You're not responsible for the choices Thomas makes. But you are responsible for the choices you make. And you chose to betray my trust. You chose to risk everything we have." I felt tears starting to burn in my eyes and angrily wiped them away. "Did you even think about me? About us? About what this would do to our future?" "Of course I did. I thought about it every time I sent money. But I kept thinking, just one more time. Just one more wire transfer and Thomas would get clear. He promised me, Maggie. He swore each time was the last time. And you believed him." I wanted to believe him. Linda, who had been standing quietly by the door, finally spoke up. "Richard, I'm going to say something, and I want you to really hear me. What you're doing isn't helping Thomas. It's enabling him to keep gambling, keep making bad choices, keep avoiding the consequences of his actions. If you really love your brother, the best thing you can do is stop giving him money and tell him he needs to get into treatment. Otherwise, you're just prolonging his self-destruction." Richard looked at Linda, then back at me. "I can't just cut him off. Those people will kill him. Then he needs to go to the police. Or declare bankruptcy. Or check himself into a treatment facility where they can't find him. There are options besides you bankrupting yourself to enable his gambling addiction." I picked up the tablet again. "I'm asking you right now, Richard. Choose. Your brother or your marriage. Because I can't stay in a relationship with someone who lies to me, who makes major financial decisions without my consent, who values his brother's addiction over our shared future. That's not fair. You're asking me to choose between two people I love. No, I'm asking you to choose between enabling your brother's self-destruction and protecting your marriage. Those aren't the same thing." I held his gaze, refusing to look away. I've been a good wife to you, Richard. I've supported you through everything: career changes, health scares, your father's death. I've never asked you to choose between me and your family. But I'm asking now, because what you're doing isn't just affecting you, it's affecting me. And I deserve better than to be kept in the dark while you destroy everything we've built. The silence that followed was the longest of my life. Richard sat in his chair, his head in his hands, and I could see the war playing out inside him. Finally, he looked up, and there were tears in his eyes. "What do you want me to do?" "I want you to stop sending Thomas money. Immediately. I want you to tell him he needs to get professional help for his gambling addiction. I want you to make a payment plan to pay off the home equity loan as fast as possible. And I want you to go to marriage counseling with me, because we have serious issues that we need to work through with a professional. And if I do all that, then we try to rebuild what you've broken. But Richard, I need you to understand something. If you lie to me again, if you send Thomas even one more dollar behind my back, I'm done. I'll file for divorce, and I'll make sure I get enough of our assets to secure my own retirement, because I clearly can't trust you to do it." He nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll call Thomas right now and tell him no more money. I want to be on that call." Richard's hand shook as he pulled out his phone. He put it on speaker and dialed his brother's number. Thomas answered on the third ring, his voice tense. "Rich, you got the money?" "No, Thomas, I don't, and I'm not sending any more." "You need help, real help, not money. You need to check yourself into a treatment facility for gambling addiction." "Are you kidding me?" "Rich, I told you, these people don't mess around. If I don't pay them, I'm dead." "Then go to the police. Declare bankruptcy. There are options besides me bankrupting myself to fund your addiction." "My addiction? This is about bad luck, not addiction. I just hit a rough patch." "Thomas, you've hit a rough patch for 6 months straight. That's not bad luck. That's a problem. And I can't be part of the solution anymore because all I'm doing is enabling you to keep gambling." There was a long pause on the other end. Then Thomas's voice came back, colder. "So that's it? You're just going to abandon me? After everything?" "I'm not abandoning you. I'm refusing to enable your self-destruction. If you want real help, I'll help you find a treatment program. I'll support your recovery, but I won't send another dollar to feed your gambling addiction." Wow. You know what, Rich? I always knew your wife had you whipped, but I didn't realize how much. This is her, isn't it? She found out, and now she's making you cut me off. I leaned toward the phone. "This is Margaret, Thomas. And yes, I found out. I found out that my husband has wired you over $150,000 of our retirement savings. I found out he mortgaged our home to give you even more. So yes, I'm making him stop. Because unlike you, I actually care about Richard's well-being. I care about our future, and I'm not going to stand by while you drag him down with you. You don't understand. This is family. Family doesn't ask you to risk everything you have. Family doesn't lie and manipulate and take advantage. What you're doing to Richard isn't love, Thomas. It's exploitation. Go to hell, Margaret." The line went dead. Richard stared at his phone, and I watched the emotions play across his face. Hurt, anger, guilt, relief. Finally, he set the phone down and looked at me. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Maggie. You're right. About all of it. I've been a fool. You've been a devoted brother. But devotion without boundaries is just enabling." I sat down on the couch across from him. "Richard, I meant what I said. We can work through this. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take complete honesty from you. No more secrets. No more decisions made without discussing them with me first. We're partners, or we're nothing." "I understand." Linda cleared her throat. "I should go and give you two some privacy. But Maggie, call me later, okay?" "I will. Thank you for being here." After Linda left, Richard and I sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he said, "What happens now?" "Now we figure out how to fix what you've broken. We sit down with a financial advisor and figure out how bad the damage really is. We make a plan to pay off the home equity loan. We cut up the credit cards, freeze the accounts, do whatever we have to do to prevent anything like this from happening again. And we start marriage counseling next week. I'll do whatever it takes." "I hope so, Richard, because I meant what I said. One more lie, one more secret, and I'm gone. I love you, but I love myself more. And I'm not going to sacrifice my future for yours or Thomas's or anyone else's. Over the next few weeks, we began the hard work of rebuilding trust and financial security. The financial advisor confirmed what I already knew. We'd lost more than half our retirement savings, and the home equity loan meant we'd be making payments for years. But it wasn't unrecoverable. If we were careful, if we stuck to a strict budget, if Richard went back to part-time consulting work, we could rebuild a decent nest egg by the time we were 70. The marriage counselor was harder. Every session dredged up difficult truths, forced us to confront patterns that had been decades in the making. Richard's guilt about being the successful brother, the one who'd gone to college while Thomas bounced from job to job. His need to be the protector, the fixer, even when fixing meant enabling. My own tendency to avoid conflict, to assume everything was fine as long as we didn't fight. Thomas called 3 times in the first week, each call more desperate than the last. Each time, Richard told him the same thing: no more money, but he'd help him find treatment. After the 3rd call, Thomas stopped calling. We heard through Richard's sister that he'd left Atlantic City, moved in with a cousin in Ohio, was supposedly done gambling. We both knew better than to believe it, but at least he was alive and out of immediate danger. 6 months later, we were sitting on our back porch watching the sunset when Richard's phone rang. Thomas's name appeared on the screen. Richard looked at me, a question in his eyes. I nodded. He answered on speaker. "Rich, it's me." "Hey Thomas, how are you?" "I'm okay. I'm in a program. Gamblers Anonymous. Been clean for 90 days. The pride in his voice was unmistakable, and I saw Richard's face soften. "That's great, Thomas. Really great." I called to apologize. To both of you. I was way out of line. The things I said to Margaret, the way I treated you, Rich. You were trying to help me, and I threw it back in your face. You were in crisis. I understand. No, you were enabling me. Margaret was right about that. I was using you, taking advantage of your guilt and your love. If you'd kept sending money, I'd probably be dead right now. So thank you. Thank you for stopping. Richard's voice was thick when he replied, "I'm glad you're getting help. I'm glad you're okay. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to want a relationship with me anymore. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and I'm trying to do better. Of course I want a relationship with you. You're my brother. But things are different now. We have boundaries that we didn't have before. I understand, and I respect that. Tell Margaret I'm sorry, okay? You can tell her yourself. She's right here." I leaned toward the phone. "I heard you, Thomas. I accept your apology. Thank you. And thank you for caring enough about Rich to make him stop. I hated you for it at the time, but you saved his life. Maybe you saved mine too." After we hung up, Richard pulled me close, and we sat there watching the sky turn from orange to pink to purple. "Do you think he'll make it?" Richard asked quietly. "I don't know, but whether he does or doesn't, that's his journey now, not yours." "I know. I'm still learning to let go of the guilt." Guilt is a tricky thing. It makes us think we're helping when we're really just hurting ourselves and the people we're trying to save. I rested my head on his shoulder. "But we're learning. Both of us. I love you, Maggie. I know I hurt you. I know I broke your trust, but I'm grateful you gave me a chance to earn it back. I love you too. And Richard, I'm proud of you for choosing us. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't simple, but you did it. That means something." We sat there until the stars came out, 2 people who'd been married for 35 years, learning to be married all over again. The money was mostly gone, our retirement plan was shot, we'd be working part-time for years to rebuild what had been lost. But we had something that money couldn't buy. We had honesty. We had boundaries. We had a marriage based on partnership and respect, not secrets and lies. And sometimes, I thought, watching the constellations emerge in the darkening sky, sometimes you have to tear something down completely before you can rebuild it stronger than it was before. Our marriage had been torn down by deception and rebuilt with truth. It wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, still moments when I remembered the betrayal and felt the anger rise up again. But Richard was there, doing the work, being present, being honest, and that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.